Donald Trump has once again been found in contempt for violating the gag order in his criminal hush money trial. The judge issued that ruling as court got underway in Manhattan within the last hour. Trump has already been fined $9,000 for 9 previous violations of the order. In his ruling today, Judge Juan Merchan threatened to jail the former president if the violations continue. Trump is on trial for allegedly falsifying business records to cover up a hush money payment made to adult film star Stormy Daniels in the lead up to the 2016 election. Trump has denied the allegations.
Hello, guys. Adam is here. Listen to this, everyone. A sitting president of the United States just received what might be the most chilling warning any commander-in-chief has ever heard from a federal courtroom.
Legally, the defendant, in this case Donald Trump, is not in control of any part of these proceedings. The judge is the individual in our government process at this point in a trial who determines both what constitutes violating the gag order and what the punishment can be if he does it again. Now, what you have here was 9 violations, primarily from online posts that were flagged by the DA and reviewed by the judge. It's $9,000. But the real threat is what was said today. If Trump continues to attack witnesses or violate the order, he could face jail time, the judge saying he just won't tolerate willful violations of the lawful orders and, if necessary, will impose a, quote, incarceratory punishment. You can tell from the root word there, incarcerate or incarceration. I have the same document. We put the quote up there for you. That's in here. That's the one part. I mean, the whole thing is much longer, and we saw the lawyers sort of scurry out of the room and review it, as you'd expect. But
not another legal slap on the wrist. Not another fine that gets paid by someone else's money. We're talking about jail time, actual incarceration. A federal judge has essentially drawn a line in the sand and told Donald Trump that one more step across it means handcuffs, a cell, and a reality that nobody thought was possible in modern America. The man who has dodged every political bullet, survived scandals that would have obliterated any other leader's career, weathered 2 impeachments like they were mild inconveniences, and walked away from 4 separate criminal indictments still standing. That man is now reportedly experiencing something he rarely shows: genuine fear. Not the performance he puts on for cameras, but real, behind-the-scenes anxiety that his lawyers are desperately trying to manage. Because this time, the escape routes are closing. This time, the judges aren't playing games anymore. This time, there's a very real possibility that U.S. Marshals could walk through whatever door the president happens to be behind and place him under arrest. And if you think that sounds like something ripped from a political thriller screenplay, trust me, so does everyone else. But it's not fiction. It's February 2026, and this is actually where American democracy finds itself right now. Let me paint the full picture of how we arrived at this extraordinary moment. Trump returned to the White House just over 12 months ago, beginning his second term with aggressive confidence. But what's happened since isn't your typical partisan warfare. What we've witnessed is an escalating confrontation between Trump and the federal court system that has reached unprecedented intensity. This isn't about policy disputes. This is about direct, personal, confrontational battles with individual federal judges who've issued rulings Trump simply refuses to accept. He's attacked judges by name on social media. He's publicly questioned their competence, their integrity. He's labeled them enemies, suggested they're corrupt. And for months, the judiciary responded with professional restraint. They issued their rulings and largely tried to stay above the toxic political discourse. But something fundamental shifted recently. The patience ran out. And now, federal judges across multiple jurisdictions have started doing something remarkable. They're putting explicit jail warnings directly into their official court orders, essentially telling Trump, "Go ahead, test me, see what happens." These aren't vague threats buried in legal footnotes. We're talking about multiple federal judges presiding over everything from immigration challenges to executive order disputes, who have begun crafting orders with language that spells out exactly what enforcement looks like when their rulings get violated. And the answer isn't another round of hearings or extended briefing schedules. The answer is contempt of court. And contempt means sanctions, penalties, and yes, the possibility of immediate detention. That word, jail, now appears in actual court documents aimed at the highest office in the land. Now, let me be crystal clear about what's actually happening. No judge has issued an arrest warrant for Donald Trump that's active right now. Nobody is planning a midnight raid on the White House. What is happening might actually be more significant. Judges are constructing a legal framework, documented officially, that eliminates the usual delays and procedural escape hatches. They're essentially preloading the entire enforcement mechanism. They're saying, I'm not going to issue another warning. If you cross this line, the consequences I've already outlined take effect immediately, and those consequences include potential detention. They've restructured the legal process so that the gap between violation and consequence shrinks from months to potentially just days. They've eliminated Trump's favorite tactic: delay, delay, delay. If you're Donald Trump sitting in the Oval Office getting briefed by your legal team on what these court orders actually say, this has to feel like the walls closing in. Because Trump's entire approach to legal trouble has always been the same playbook: stretch everything out, appeal every ruling, make the process so expensive and exhausting that the other side eventually gives up. He's been playing that game successfully for decades, and now federal judges are saying, not this time. This time, when the clock runs out, you don't get to hit reset. You get consequences. Real ones. Immediate ones. Let me break down the full scope, because this isn't just one isolated case. This is a pattern developing across multiple courts, multiple cases, multiple judges, including some appointed by Republican presidents. That detail matters enormously, because this isn't some partisan witch hunt. This is a broad, systemic judicial response to a president who consistently treats court orders like optional suggestions. To understand how we got here, we need to go back to Trump's criminal trial in New York. The judge held Trump in criminal contempt for violating gag orders by attacking witnesses online. The judge stated explicitly that continued violations could result in prison. And Trump's response? He pushed further, then further again, because that's Trump's pattern. He tests boundaries until someone actually enforces consequences, and for a long time, nobody truly enforced anything. Trump interpreted that restraint as proof that they never would. But here's where the dynamic transformed. Trump isn't just a criminal defendant anymore. He's president again, which means he controls the entire executive branch, the Justice Department, ICE, every federal agency. And he's been wielding that power in ways that have created direct collisions with the judiciary. We're talking about immigration raids that judges specifically ordered halted, but the administration conducted them anyway. We're talking about funding cuts that judges blocked, but the administration attempted to implement regardless. One federal judge recently had to order the Trump administration to bring back students who'd been deported in direct violation of a previous court order protecting them. The government removed people that a court had specifically said could not be removed. That's not a policy disagreement. That's open defiance. That's a sitting president telling the judicial branch, your rulings don't bind me. That's why judges started incorporating jail language into their orders, because standard enforcement tools weren't working. Trump was treating judicial rulings like speed bumps, not stop signs, so judges escalated dramatically. They began writing orders that state the next violation triggers contempt proceedings that could include detention, and crucially, they structured these orders to move fast, compressing the timeline from violation to consequence down to days instead of months. Publicly, the White House position is that these judges are overreaching their authority. They're calling it judicial activism, an assault on democratic principles. Behind closed doors, though, Trump's lawyers are apparently panicking because they understand something Trump either doesn't grasp or refuses to accept. Contempt of court is one of the few areas where a judge wields nearly absolute power. A judge can hold you in contempt and impose penalties, including incarceration, without a jury trial. Right now, multiple federal judges are openly brandishing that tool and warning, don't force me to use this. And here's what really strikes me. This fight transcends Donald Trump. This fight is fundamentally about whether the judiciary can actually enforce its rulings against a president who refuses to comply. Because if the answer is no, then what purpose do courts serve? What's the point of having a constitution that establishes the judiciary as a co-equal branch if a president can laugh at their rulings and face zero consequences? On the flip side, if a judge actually does hold a sitting president in contempt, the political explosion would be unlike anything America has experienced. Trump's supporters would call it a coup. The constitutional crisis that experts keep warning about would stop being theoretical and become terrifyingly concrete. So the judges are trapped. They've made threats they might not be able to enforce. And Trump knows it. He's calling their bluff, betting that no judge has the courage to actually imprison a sitting president. But here's what could change everything. What if a state judge, not a federal judge, is the one who follows through? Because state judges don't answer to the federal government. State law enforcement doesn't work for the president. If a state court holds Trump in contempt, say in that New York case that's still pending, the enforcement mechanism exists completely outside Trump's control. That crack in the armor is what makes the instant order threat real. Here's my honest assessment. I think the judges will keep escalating. Every time Trump or his administration violates a court order, the judicial response will get harsher, faster, more explicit. And eventually, maybe not this month, but eventually a judge will actually follow through. Not with some dramatic televised arrest, but with a quiet contempt finding that carries real penalties. Maybe a massive fine. Maybe a detention order for a government official who executed an illegal directive. And when that happens, the constitutional question everyone has been dancing around for years, can the legal system actually hold a president accountable in real time? That question will demand an answer. Think about it this way. If courts back down, if judges keep threatening but never follow through, the precedent gets set. Future presidents will understand that court orders are optional. That's terrifying regardless of your politics. But if courts follow through, if a judge actually imposes real consequences on a sitting president, then we enter completely uncharted territory where the norms that have held this country together for 2.5 centuries get replaced by raw legal force. Nobody knows what that looks like. All we know for certain is that right now, in February 2026, the distance between the President of the United States and a jail cell is shorter than it has ever been in American history. And that distance is shrinking with each passing day. That's it for today. Make sure you subscribe, hit that like button, and I'll see you in the next one.